So there's three things that can happen with incorrect drag setting. Obviously, if your drag is set too tight for the line class that you have, your line breaks. If it's set too loose, then there's a couple things that happen. If it's set too loose and you go to the strike position, you don't get a proper hook set. And especially with fishing for larger tuna and you're using circle hooks, drag setting is an absolute key. You end up spending more time on the fish than is necessary. Getting in one additional tangle that you didn't have to be in. You have the fish on for a prolonged period of time and it wears a hole in the fish's mouth, and so the hook comes out. In the strike position, for whatever class of line that you have, if you can wrap your line around your hand and just barely pull it off of the reel, then that's pretty close to being accurate. If it's really loose, then you need to go into free spool and take a couple clicks on the drag setting knob there, so that when you pull on it, it just barely comes off. It should be difficult. Now there are guys that use a scale to set their drags, and some line manufacturers talk about 30% of the breaking strength of the line. One of the biggest tips that we can tell you after you've hooked a fish and you're in strike, and when you start actually fighting the fish, that when you raise the rod and line goes off of your spool, when you raise the rod, then your drag is too loose. So what ends up happening, you raise the rod and 3 feet of line went out, and then when you wind back down to the fish, the same 3 feet of line goes back on the spool. So you're not gaining line on the fish. The goal is to gain line on the fish and bring it to the surface so that we can gaff it and tag it for you. It's not uncommon that if your drag is set too loose, that you can have the crew come over and they'll put the reel in free spool. You're going to lose a little line, but you want the drag setting to go up a little bit and then go back into the strike position.